All right, welcome to the CanMonkey podcast show. And today I have a special guest. In my eyes, when I came into the vacation rental industry about 5 years ago, there was a couple big names out there, and one of them was definitely one in this two name, Alex and Annie. And so I remember when I got to first, introduce myself to you at one of the conferences. I don't know which one exactly what it was right now, but I remember just like kind of meeting you. You were, a rock star in this industry, and it's really cool just to, we just talked a little bit right before here and alluded to your 30 years of experience. And so it's really cool to have someone like you in our industry that has kind of seen the vacation rental industry. A lot of us know it from after COVID, but it way before COVID, during before COVID, when Airbnb came, like you kind of seen the whole cycle. And so it really makes a lot of sense now, you going into your own thing because you do have this wealth of knowledge of our industry of what, people are trying to obtain, whether they have one property, 10 properties, 100 properties. You've seen it all.
Yeah.
Without further ado, please introduce yourself, who you are, what you do in our industry, and how you help people.
Oh, well, I mean, I feel like you did a pretty good job other than not saying my name. But yeah, so Annie Holcombe, I am now the chief STR adagist, the strategist for Annie and Co. So I've gone out on my own and working for myself now. So we'll see where that goes. But you may know me, more importantly, you may know me from our podcast, like you mentioned. It's Alex and Annie, the Real Women of Vacation Rentals. And I do remember meeting you. Gosh, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but yeah, I think we're all getting old, but you were just so excited and so like eager to just soak up everything, and that's what I love about this industry is like when you meet people that jump into it, they come in eyes wide open, and it can be overwhelming, and you're drinking from a fire hose, and it's a lot to take on, but you hit it head on, and I've been so proud to watch you and support you and cheer you on. It's been exciting, and of course, anybody that has a monkey as a mascot is like a friend of mine.
I love it. Well, I know I appreciate that, and you're really right about our industry, and that's what I kind of saw from like an outsider coming into it. Was that I'm not saying like high school as in cliques, but it was a lot of like high school. You kind of like learn the different kind of collaborations, the different kind of packs. There are the PMS packs. I mean, I didn't even know what a PMS was when I came to this industry. So learning everything, you kind of learn, and so really having you and Alex with the podcast, and then there's others out there, but you guys really do kind of help this really big industry feel a little bit more small and kind of really be able to navigate it. And so especially with your background now, you know how to navigate it in multiple different ways. So what is something that you feel like that from your I guess the last couple of years and seeing what you've been able to do, like what do you see that there's some gaps and that people are not seeing that you can bring to light to them and help them guide them in a way that maybe they're just not sure of it right now, but you can see that for them.
So I think one of the things there's several things that I noticed that are of challenge to people is the newer entrance to the space. So people that came in post COVID, they don't know where to go to get information, and I think that that's one of the things. Like you and I are both running for the VRMA board, and from the supplier standpoint, and I think that we both share the desire to make sure that people have access to information and that the association is providing a value. And so there's that, getting people educated the right way and not in these like masterminds where they're spending thousands of dollars and they're really not getting any content out of it other than like somebody saying, okay, you're in this group and you can talk, but we don't really have any substance to give you. And so like I think that I want to make sure people have access to education. The other thing that I see is from the distribution standpoint. So as we were talking off camera, my career has kind of been divided into three areas: property management, channel management, and the OTAs. And obviously channel management touches OTAs. So really been in OTAs for like the last 15 years. But people are not being strategic about the channels that they're using, and they're having information given to them like you should just be on all of them. And I think that it doesn't make a lot of sense unless you've got a lot of inventory and you're really trying to move the needle a lot. Be mindful about it. And I think that people don't have the information that they need to be able to say like, here's my goals and here's what I need to accomplish and what channels make the most sense. So I think my understanding of channels and depth of knowledge within the channels can help somebody kind of create a mindful distribution is what I like to call it, is because you might have different goals than the guy next door. There's somebody next door might have all of his properties and all he cares about is revenue generation. So he's going to be on all the channels, but you have an understanding that you want to grow your business and you want to grow it at a certain rate and you want to have certain types of owners and certain types of guests. So you might choose different channels based on those needs. And I think that people take it for granted that you want to align your channel and your distribution with the goals that you have for your business. So there's that. And then the other thing is, as you said, 30 years in the business, I've amassed a lot of connections and a lot of relationships. And it's given me the ability to connect people that maybe wouldn't have access to each other. Like you said, there's just all these factions within the industry unless you know kind of the right door to open. The podcast that Alex and I do has enabled me to get access to those doors. And there are people that are starting businesses out that, just like you were a few years ago, just don't know where to go. I can help them navigate that. And whether it be representing them at conferences, representing them on podcasts or panels, or helping them get on these podcasts and panels, those type of things, more from like almost like a PR standpoint. But I think it's just, I have a really large network. And so that was one of the things I was mindful when I named the company. I wanted to have my name in there because people knew Annie and that would resonate. But then I also wanted to tap into my network. So the Annie and Co, the Co will be my network of connections, and people could tap into that. So if it's something I don't have expertise in, I certainly don't have expertise in can running. So I will always tap into Alex Shapiro and CanMonkey.
I love it. No, you are definitely a dot connector, and then you definitely do know how everything does operate from all different aspects. So from a position like that, like who would be an ideal client of yours then? So who are you kind of like looking that you could help? Is this like a company, or is this like a individual person with like a portfolio, like you said? Like what's like an ideal
Yes.
client that would
So I
be
think
good
there's I
for?
think there's kind of two ideals. One, somebody who's maybe been in the business for a while on the distribution standpoint, and they've been doing it, but maybe they're only doing VRBO and Airbnb, or as you know, it's a peeve of mine, they're only doing Airbnb and they've got 25 to 50 units and they need to start diversifying and thinking about like
Hmm.
a more diverse strategy and thinking about their distribution. But then also with somebody that's wanting to get started, just says like, I don't know what I don't know, can you tell me where I can go get this information? So it's about guiding them to the right PMS, guiding them to the distribution, guiding them to how they set up business development to grow their company, how they train their staff to be part of that business development. And then on sort of the branding side, it could be a property manager that's already well established and looking to branch into other markets. They might want to do that, but their brand isn't well known and they need some help with that. And then also there's so many suppliers that are in this space that I feel like every time we go to a show, there's a new person and they're trying to network the room. And they just, like you said, overwhelming, don't know who the people are. Everybody's overwhelmed with the amount of suppliers from the property management standpoint. So how do you cut through the noise? And I think that my connections could help somebody do that. So there was a lot in there to unpack. As that it's small operators that need assistance in certain areas, the medium operators that really need the distribution, but maybe they have a revenue management tool. I'm not going to do revenue management. There's enough people out there, and then the branding can touch both sides, supplier and operator.
I love it. You did just alluded to the very end, but it doesn't really matter where you are in your business. I mean, no matter where you're at in the business, you can obviously see eyes and help them get to the next level. And that's where your expertise of 30 years, comes from. You did mention that you had three different tiers of your business. Which one of it was your favorite that you're looking forward to kind of tapping into a little bit more?
Gosh, I love all three pieces of it. So I think it's like that's like the ADD in me. Like I get to do all the things. So
Yeah.
it's really fun. But I think because I've been so removed from property management for the last few years, when I was working for a channel manager several years ago, one called Lexicon, we prided ourselves in the amount of like depth of relationship we had with the property manager. So I logged into extranets for them. I helped them with their, like I really dug in with them and I had really close relationships with them. And so I haven't been able to do that kind of since that company sold and I moved out of it. But I think it's getting back to working with the property managers because I understand what it's like to be a property manager. I understand what it's like to work 7 days a week. I understand what it's like to get a phone call in the middle of the night. I understand where they're at, and I can help see through some of their frustrations and help them navigate the things that maybe they don't have eyes on because they're just too inundated with the day to day.
And the property managers, I feel like that's where a lot of the relationships have come from. Not you per se, but me when I've gone to these different conferences. And so that's another good thing for like, when you're talking about these conferences, if there are people there with you, like you can give them all these different connections. Like we're going to, the VRMA in Vegas. That's where everyone's at. You can kind of show them all the different vendors that would pertain to business. What's one of the main things that when you're talking to someone, like what's one of the main things that you're looking to kind of gather to like the open-ended questions you're asking to get to like the next point to help them. So like, if I'm talking to a property manager, like what's something that I can ask them that if it comes up, I can be like, oh, that'd be perfect for Annie. Is like there's something that like kind of like sparks like a oh when they say that. So is it more like I'm not happy with my OTA? Obviously that's like a little bit more generic, but is there
Yeah.
something else that they can say that like can like
Well,
could be a good person?
I would say like the big thing on the distribution is like if anybody says like, well, I'm only using Airbnb, like that's a red flag. That's a
Okay,
like, okay,
true,
absolutely,
right.
they need to have a conversation. But I think the big question that I ask people all the time is like, truly, just go back to the basics. What are your goals? Because if your goal is just to generate revenue and you really don't care about the customer service and you're not concerned about, the longevity of your business, you maybe your eyes are set on, I just want to be able to build something I can sell in 3 years. Like that's a different mindset than somebody's that's looking at it as a business and they're I say it all the time, like you have that hospitality gene. You're
Hmm.
wanting to facilitate all these magical memories and experiences for other people. Like that's a whole different mindset for a business to run. So really just understanding, do they have goals and
Right.
what are those goals? And I think those goals kind of help you navigate down the road of what I could best do to, or any of us could best do to
Yeah.
service them.
It sounds like almost like you're like a business consultant for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I have like I said, it's having such a broad view of the industry definitely in hindsight, it all makes sense. I used to look at it every kind of step and I was like, what is like, this doesn't make any sense. But looking back at it all, it's like, it was preparing me to be able to have these conversations to
Hmm.
say like, okay, this is what you should be doing. And I had a conversation with somebody earlier this morning and, I had their website in front of me and we were talking through it. And there was just so many pieces that were just missing. And as I was talking to this manager, she knew things were missing, but she didn't know what they were, and I think that
Hmm.
that's just it, is like sometimes you just get
Yeah.
down in the details of doing your business, you just forget about the basics. And I want to be able to help people set those basics up from the very beginning so they can be successful, but also so that they're not in this industry and feel like, one, they're alone, but two, that there's no end, like there's no end to this. It's just going to be constant chaos. I mean, it's hospitality. There's going to be a lot of chaos involved for sure. We are known to be the Wild West as an industry because it's constantly changing, but nobody should feel like there's not the information or the tools or the foundational facts out there to get started and be successful.
No, absolutely. No, I mean, I obviously I'm not a property manager, but if I was, I'd love for you to kind of go through my whole like my business and kind of be like audit it because you're right. You could see things differently, and sometimes I even see this in my own business. It's like we're so busy on working on our business and growing it that sometimes we don't work in the business, and so it's always nice. Sometimes take a step away and look at it with different eyes after you get to a certain point. So having someone like you that has kind of seen all different things through different seasons, through different reasons, whatever it has been,
Yeah,
you can kind of look at things in a new light. And so, yeah, like almost like an audit, it would be awesome, to kind of be like, hey, what should I be doing better? And I've talked to people who I don't even know what OTAs are, were before, but I hear about it at different conferences to where I talk
sure.
to people when they tell me these things like, do you have other like are you using anything else besides Airbnb? And sometimes the conversations I have with people are like, no, what else is out there? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm
Right.
like, you got, and it's like, and that's not really my business to tell them. It's just like conversations I have with people. So it's like and obviously there's the property management companies that we see at the VRMA, but even my own business, we have over 2,000 individual clients that are paying us every month for our services, and a lot of those are just individual clients that
Hmm.
have a property on in one state, live in another state, and that's just what they have, or
Yeah.
sometimes they're growing from one to two to three, and so they don't know anything else but what they just got started with. So having having the ability to reach out to someone like you to gather more information to help them in their businesses is huge. And I don't really know a lot of people out there that are like out there for like a business consultant for that kind of needs. Um, and so that's awesome.
Yeah, well, I do have I've set up distribution audits and business development audits and branding audits. So kind of just more of a asking questions that should be no brainers to most people, but like again, if you kind of fell into it, you didn't think about all these things, and things have just sort of evolved over time. And I want to try to like just remove some of that uncertainty that they have. I told somebody today, like, what is the biggest thing I've learned about this business is, and I was like, it's uncertain. There's no certainties, but if you can remove some of the uncertainties to make
Mhm.
them certain, that's certainly helpful. And I think that that's where having a good network, and all working together. And I think that that's the one thing that I love about this business is everybody's very collaborative and we want to support each other. And so how do we get it out to the masses of these people that are, like you said, one or two units in a market, and they just don't know. They assume they're the only guy out there doing what they're doing, and there's thousands and thousands of them.
And no, totally. And then when people are, listening to this and are interested now in your services, are your services like a like month to month? Is it like a contract? Like how would someone, add Annie and Co into their business and like what's that look like?
So good question. I purposely didn't try to do it. No, I don't want to say like custom, but what I want to do is like curate a opportunity to work together. So there is retainer opportunities, which would be 3 to 4 months engagement. There's project based work. So if somebody just had like, I need to, quickly over the next 2 months, I need to figure out what my distribution looks like and add some channels. That's a project based stuff. Or there's just the simple discussion of at hourly basis. So maybe we are having a conversation about what the possibilities could be, and we just start out meeting a couple hours a month.
And I'm sure you've been helping people throughout your existence in this industry, so you've probably been
Yeah.
helping people like pro bono for so long. But have
Right.
you already? So now that you're taking it as like, have you had anyone that like you started with yet, or is this like kind of like just you're launching off brand new?
I have a couple of people that I have on retainer that we'll be announcing in the next couple of months. It's just some things
Awesome.
that we just like solidified for this launch. And then I've just been meeting with people like several people have already reached out to me via my website. You can actually go to anniecosolutions.com and you can actually fill out a form to contact me and we'll set up a meeting. And so people have been doing that. People have obviously been hitting me up on LinkedIn. We're going to go to Alex and I and a bunch of actually women from the industry are going over to Scale Italia in Genoa, and then the women's conference in Genoa in a couple of weeks, and then we'll be at VRMA. So I feel like the timing was exactly right to kind of the end of the season when everybody was going to be looking at what were their needs moving forward. There's a few things in the works, but my dance card is not full, so I definitely need to get out there and start drumming up some business. So as I told everybody, it's like now the real work begins. Got to do all the fun
Right.
stuff to say I'm here. Now I got to actually work.
Right.
So yeah.
So this is a perfect segue. So if someone is interested, they hear this, how do they find you? How do they reach out to you? How do they get started?
So I'm always on LinkedIn. I mean, I think that's where like we joke it's the water cooler of the business. So you
Yeah.
can hit me up on LinkedIn. But the website is anniecosolutions.com and there's a form there you can fill out. Like I said, you can hit me up on LinkedIn. That's always the easiest. I'm there every day.
Awesome. Well, Annie, thank you so much for coming on. I cannot wait to share this with our audience and our network. And, anyone out there that has any questions about their business, that don't know where to go to, that, wants to put their hand up but doesn't know who's going to be able to answer their question, reach out to Annie. She is a wealth of knowledge. And I think it's amazing that you are fair game for anyone that is looking to add you into their business to help them get to the next level. And so, again, thank you and look forward to seeing you at the next conference.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.